Today on Cosmic Disclosure, we are with Richard Doty, a retired counterintelligence agent who served in the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. Richard was intimately involved with UFO ET-related content. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you, Henry.
Nellis Test and Training Range is part of Tonopah Air Force Base in Nevada. It's been reported that there was a UFO base located there. What was a UFO base doing within the parameters of an American Air Force base?
Well, go back a little bit. Tonopah Air Force Base is within the Nellis Test and Training Range with Area 51 and including the Nevada Test Site, which is now the Nevada National Security Site. We located a UFO base at Urania Mountain, which is in the western portion of Nellis Test and Training Range, which was on Tonopah Air Force Base. And we found this when two women in 1983 had contacts with an extraterrestrial race.
So what did this contact with these two women have to do with this Air Force base?
Let me go back and tell you the story. Two women driving on Nevada Route 6, which is north of Nellis Test and Training Range, west of Warm Springs, Nevada, were driving in a September day in 1983 when they saw a spacecraft. They refer to it as spacecraft. The craft landed, they were contacted, and they had missing time. They reported this to Nevada law enforcement authorities, Nevada Highway Patrol and the Nye County Sheriff's Office. Nye County Sheriff's and the State Patrol, the Highway Patrol notified Tonopah Air Force Base, the security police desk sergeant, and reported that these two females had seen some kind of a craft, and they were afraid that they might have been abducted. Immediately, the security police desk sergeant notified Air Force Office of Special Investigation. I, at the time, was at Groom Lake, which is about 80 miles away. I was notified of it. Myself and another agent then traveled up. It took a couple hours to get to Tonopah, and then to Tonopah, Nevada, not the air base. There's a Tonopah, Nevada, about 40 miles outside Tonopah Air Base. And we met up with these two females, and they told us a story. Told us that they were traveling, they saw this craft. The craft landed, they had a contact, they had missing time, and they were afraid that it might have been exposed to radiation. That was their danger, and that was what they told the Nevada law enforcement authorities. We transported these two females to Nellis Air Force Base Hospital, where they were examined by military doctors. They were not exposed to any radiation, but they did have strange marks on their bodies. So with their consent, we did a hypnotic interview of them. And during this hypnotic interview, they explained to us that they were transported to this huge facility in a desert location somewhere in Nevada. How they explained it to us, it was a complex way of we were interrogating them. And we weren't interviewing them. We were actually interrogating them because under hypnosis, you can be more forceful. And we were more forceful, and they gave us details of a mountain that we knew, because we were familiar with Nellis Test and Training Range, was in fact Urania Mountain, which is in the Cactus Mountain chain of western part of the Nellis Test and Training Range. These females, during the interview, described these beings in clear terminology to them. They were hideous looking. They had large noses. They referred to the noses as elephant noses. And they were tall, very tall, but they didn't feel harmed. They weren't hostile. They kept reassuring them in some voice. They didn't describe it as telepathy or anything. They heard voices telling them, "We're not here to hurt you. We're not going to harm you." But they were in a facility, and listening to what they told us as far as the facility, It was a big opening facility, they explained to us, and there was some beings walking around, and there were rooms. But they were not in a room. They were in an open area, but they were on a table, and they couldn't move. So then we started an investigation. And one of the parts of the investigation, we flew over the area some days later in a helicopter. And the first flight over the area, we didn't see anything. We just saw the mountain. There was some testing facilities east of the mountain range, but we didn't see anything else. But as that helicopter banked to the west, and I asked the pilot, let's make one more pass around it, but this time let's go right over the top of the mountain. When we went over the top of the mountain was open. We could see down into the mountain. I said, my God, look at this. And the other agent on board the helicopter said, that mountain just opened. Because before, it wasn't open when we flew over it 15 or 20 minutes earlier.
Is the opening like a mile or 2 miles or?
I would say the opening was probably at least a mile. And I didn't know we had the technology to do that, number one. And I thought it was our base. And that's why I tell the helicopter pilot, hey, let's get a little bit lower to look at this. What kind of base they have down there? I'm thinking of S4,
right,
and I'm thinking of Papoose. And he was a little reluctant to do that because he didn't know what was down there either. He said, well, I'll get as close as I feel safe because he's a pilot, so he's in control of the aircraft. So we got a little lower, and we could see the distinct structures down there. There were like buildings inside here, little buildings all around. There were probably a dozen of these little buildings. They appeared to be rectangle or square structures. They didn't have any peak roofs on it. There was something reflective coming up. We could see the area was lit up, so there was lights down there. They were around the edge of the mountain, inside this hollow mountain, and then in the center area it was all open, and there was something in that center area that from our altitude I couldn't make out. But we figured when I started thinking about it more, that was the alien craft that these two women had contact with. That mountain opened, and that's where that craft went and hid. So we flew back to Tonopah. We landed at Tonopah. Immediately we went to the base commander's office. And we asked the base commander, what's going on at Urania Mountain? He said, what are you talking about? I said, do you have anything that you can tell us about Urania Mountain? He said, no. I said, is that no because we're not cleared or no because you don't know? He got very upset with us. Now, here we are, special agents. We're federal agents, and he's a full-bird colonel in the Air Force. And you understand the mentality a full-bird colonel had. This is my base. Don't ask me questions about my base.
The fact he got upset already red flagged it.
Exactly. And I said, well, we need to know because something happened out here. And then we briefed him on it. He said, I'm not at liberty to discuss it any further. You guys can leave my office. So we said, thank you, sir. And we left his office. Then we immediately responded by sending a teletype, the old teletype system, up our chain of command. I said, we need to know what's going on out there. And we need to get permission. Now, he worked for a numbered Air Force commander at Edwards Air Force Base. So we thought, well, we'll go to him. He was general, one-star general, brigadier general, and we'll ask him to let that commander give us permission to find out. Well, we went to the general at Edwards Air Force Base. He didn't know anything about it. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. As far as I know, there's nothing going on out there. So then he went to the KY3. It's a secure phone. You can talk classified up to top secret over it. He calls him. He said, what's going on at Urania Mountain? And the colonel tells the general, General, I can't tell you. And again, the general says, you can't tell me because you don't know, or you can't tell me because I'm not briefed. He said, General, I just can't tell you.